For solving such questions, the most important part is first understanding the data and how to use the data properly, right? This is the first question of the set based on that basic chart which was given. And it says the horizontal bars in the diagram represent 2020 aggregate sales in rupee million of a company for different subcategories of products. The top four product subcategories. So, one category you had bookcase, chairs, furnishing, and tables. They are all furniture. Then the bottom four, so accessories, copiers, machines, and phones, they are all tech. And all the other ones in the middle, they are the office supply product category. And then it says for each of the product category, there's a vertical line indicating the sales of the corresponding subcategories in 2019. So if we understand the data properly, the first four, so books, chairs, these things, these all categories are something which they are saying are furnitures. The bottom four, accessories, copiers, machines, and phones, these are all taken as the tech category, and all the ones in the remaining, these are all taken as office supplies. And the data also says that the chart itself tells you about the 2020 thing. So if I want to go for bookcase in 2020, so this number, if I take it, it is somewhere here. So between 2 and 2.5, but little less than half. So I could roughly take it as 2.2. So 2.2 will be the data for the year 2020. And then there is a horizontal line here, right? And this horizontal line is for 2019, and it is slightly less than the number line here for 2. So this can be taken as 1.9. So bookcases in 2019 would have been 1.9, and bookcases in 2020 would be 2.2. So once you get the data, what I did, I actually created tables, right? Because going to the graph each time and trying to estimate the data is going to take a lot of time. But if I've actually written down the numbers in a table, then for solving the questions, I just have to refer to the table and the numbers will jump out at me easily. So what I did was I created three tables. The top four for furnitures, I wrote down the data for 2020 and 2019. Then the bottom for tech, I wrote down the data for 2020 and 2019. And for office supplies, the remaining 9 categories, I put the data of 2020 and 2019. And it is all a guesstimation of the data which is given. So for example, if I want to see for paper, it's very easy because these things are directly on the line. But supposing I want to estimate for storage, right? So this data, how do I estimate it? It is between 5 and 5.5. So in the line, halfway through will be 5.25, right? So then 5.25, if I want to split it into 5 categories, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. If I split it like that, then I can see that this number is slightly more than 5.1 and slightly less than 5.2, but it is more towards 5.1. So for storage, if I want the data, I would say this is approximately 5.1. Similarly, this number for 2019 is a little less than, is little more than half. So I would take it as more than 4.25. So I would have estimated this number as 4.3. So this is the only part which is actually going to take you a lot of time, because you will have to be a little careful in guesstimating the numbers. Right? You have to guess and estimate the numbers. But if you create a table like this, you get the numbers and then it becomes easy to solve. So is everybody with me on this one? Right? So once you got these numbers, it is not, the questions are not designed to be very confusing. They are not going to ask you 4.312 as an roughly you should be able to estimate, is it 4.25, do I take it as 4.3, 0.05 आगे पीछे होगा तो भी क्वेश्चन में ज़्यादा तकलीफ नहीं होने वाली है. So once you get all this data, it's pretty easy, because the first question literally it asks the total sales in 2019 from products in office supply category. So 2019 में ऑफिस सप्लाई कैटेगरीज में से सारे प्रोडक्ट्स का सम मुझे चाहिए था. So all I needed was, if I added up all these numbers, I would simply get the total. And the options also, if you take a look at them, the options are pretty far off, right? 16.5, 12.5, 18, 13.5. They are not giving you numbers like 18, 18.5, 18.25. So 0.5, 0.1 का भी अगर आगे पीछे हो जाता है तो भी you will be able to estimate. So once you get a total, the closest number that you are going to get is close to 13.5. I guess the total is 13, 12 point something or 13 ऐसा कुछ निकलता है. So very easily you get that 13.5 is the answer in this case. All I had to do was add up all these numbers which were there in the table. So the first one was pretty easy to solve. Did everybody get this one, or at least how to solve it? Okay, I think you got the first number a little bit out. No, 13. Yeah, you got the first one right, 13.5. Yeah, that was pretty easy. And it would have been easier once you had created the table for this. Then the second example, percentage increase in sales in furniture category from 2019 to 2020. So for furniture category, I have four things, right? So once I add up all those numbers, I will be easily able to find out the difference in the data. So if I go and take a look at the data, the furniture category for 2020, I have the four numbers 2.27, 2.1 and 4.5. Add up all these. So in this case, I get my total as zero point 0.8 and 2, 9, 10, 11, 15. So 15.8, and the next category I can add up, I can get 5 and 1, I get 14. So 14.5 say 15.8. So 14.5 say 15.8 is what sort of an increase is all I needed to calculate. So from 14.5 to 15.8, the difference is 1.3. So 1.3 over 14.5. So 14.5 at 10% would be 1.45. This is slightly less than that. So the nearest answer that I could have marked was 8, and that is the answer in this case. So got the second one. Again with the table, it's very easy to guesstimate this number. Right. Now the third one. How many subcategories? Now this is a very interesting question. It looks a bit data, but actually the graph will help you a lot. It says how many subcategories had sales of 4 million or more in 2019, and then registered an increase in sales in excess of 25% in 2020. So first you need to identify all those subcategories which had a sales of more than 4 million in 2019. So you have to take a look at the 2019 data. So more than 4 million, you have 1, you have 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So these are the only ones which have actually more than 4 million in 2019. Now some mistake you would make is you might take a look at data of 2020. That is the only mistake you could make. So first 2019 May, only 5 of these subcategories had more than 4 million, and then you had to it had to be a greater than 25% increase, right? So if I want to take a look at greater than 25% increase, so it should be increasing by more than 1/4. तो 6.15 का 1/4 is 1.5 1.6 के आसपास, एंड 1.5 1.6 भी ऐड करूंगा तो 7 point something, बहुत आगे जाना चाहिए. So definitely not. 4.4 का 25% is 1.1, so it should have been 5.5. Definitely not this. 4.1 से actually it is decreasing, so this is eliminated. 5.8 का 1/4 कितना होगा? 6 का 1/4 is 1.5, तो 5.8 का 1/4 is 1.5 से 0.2 का आधा, so 1.5 से 0.05, so 1.45 के आसपास मुझे चाहिए. So if I add 1.45, I get 7.25. This is definitely more than that. So phones category definitely helps. And 4.3 का 25% is 1 point something. So it should definitely be more than 4.3. So it doesn't work. So there's literally just one category in which the 2019 data is more than 4 million and the increase is more than 25%. So if you can quickly work that out, right? You just have to identify 5 numbers which are more than 4 million, and then 25% increase is 1/4 increase. So orally you can find this out. There's only one category which satisfies, that is phones. So the answer to this, it was a type in the answer. You just had to type in the integer 1. So this is easy to get. Understood this one? Right. And then we finally move on. The last says, now this was a bit of a dicey question, not dicey, but a little bit calculation intensive, right? But this could have been solved if the other data sets are a bit tricky. You can always invest some time in this and solve it. So what does it say? It says the improvement index for a category is the maximum percentage increase in sales from 2019 to 2020 among any of its subcategories. So the correct order of categories in increasing order of improvement index. So I have to go from least to most. Now what is improvement index? It is simply the percentage increase in the sales from 2019 to 2020. So first you have to identify in percentage increase is in which subcategory, and then you have to arrange all the subcategories from the least to the most. So I think this is very similar to the previous question where we calculated the percentage increase. In this case, again, from 1.9 to 2.2, it's actually decrease. You don't need to calculate, right? 6.1, and you can just look at the data and eliminate some of the options, and in some cases, will need to calculate. So this is the calculation intensive thing. But in CAT, usually if a calculator is provided, then the calculation part becomes easy. So although this is lengthy, it is not difficult, and this question can be solved. It may take a couple of minutes, but still it will earn you an entire set of 3 marks. So it's definitely worth investing the time. So once you quickly do all those calculations, you should be able to get the answer to this question. The order is D. So furniture, more than furniture is technology, and the most is office supply. The best improvement is in office supply, one of those categories. It's just a matter of calculating the numbers for all of them. Understood this particular thing? So this is calculation intensive, but if you have the calculator with you, it will be easy. And CAT usually does provide one on screen for basic calculations. So in case you feel the need, you can use it. Got it? So the table would have been very, very useful in getting all the answers to this particular set. It would have taken you 2 to 3 minutes to just create that table. But once you create that table, it cuts down a lot of time in solving the questions of this set. Are we together on that, everyone? Okay. So then I think you can move on to the next set. Now, the next three sets are pretty interesting, right? They are not straightforward data interpretations, they're more of logical reasoning. So let's see how much you get. So let's take a look at the second puzzle in the set, and it's pretty interesting one. It says there were 7 people: Amuda, Bharadhan, Chandran, Dinesh, Eril, Fani, and Gautam. 7 people in a town. And looking at the names in the puzzle, because these are typical South Indian names, also gives me a hint that the person setting the puzzle would have been down south, because no one other than a South Indian would set such names. Typically, Eril and Gautam. Anyway, it says any pair of them could either be strangers, acquaintances, or friends, and all relationships are mutual. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but they still have specified that, for example, Amuda is a friend of Bharatan, then Bharatan is also a friend of Amuda. So A, B, B, A. Okay. And similarly, if Amuda is a stranger to Bharatan, then Bharatan is also a stranger to Amuda. Okay. Now, partial information about the number of friends, acquaintances, and strangers of each of these people among them is given in the table below. Okay. Now, I know that there is a total of 7 people, and a person cannot be a friend, acquaintance, or stranger with himself or herself. That means the sum of all three, so the number of friends plus the number of acquaintances plus the number of strangers, in each case the total always has to be 6. Right? This is the first inference that I will draw. That every person, if I add up the numbers of each group, then I should get the number 6. Okay. So I make a table where I put down all the 7 people, and I'm going to just first populate the table based on the numbers which is given to me. Okay. It says Amuda, Bardhan and Chandran are mutual strangers. So if Amuda, Bardhan and Chandran are all mutual strangers, that means that A, B, BC and AC, they are all strangers to each other. Then it says Amuda, Dinesh and Fani are Eril's friends. So I've got 3 friends for Eril. It says Chandan and Gautam are friends. Then it says every friend of Amuda is an acquaintance of Bharat, so on and so forth. All the details is given, and this table is also directly provided to me in the question, right? So I know that total number of friends for Amuda, I don't know, but it says 1 acquaintance and 4 strangers. Similarly, I have the data for Chandran, Dinesh, Eril, Fani, and Gautam. Okay, so based on the information that I have got in this table, I am going to put down the data in this table right? This is the basic information which I already had. I'm going to fill in the data now. So the first thing that I'm going to fill in here is I'm going to put the information which I know that the total of all these things, it has to add up to 6. So if I know that I have to add up to 6, then what can already be filled up? Can I say that A 1 and 4 is already there? That means A must have one friend. For B, I don't have any data. C, D, E, F, I cannot fill in the data. But G, again, I can fill in the data. If he has got 3 acquaintances and 2 strangers, 3 plus 2, 5, total should be 6. That means one person in G has to be put here. So, did you get this data so far? Do you understand the data so far? How I got those numbers 1 and 1 for A and G in friends column? That's easy. Okay, now we start putting in the information. It says that Amuda, Bharatan and Chandran are mutual strangers. So for A, B and C are strangers. So for A, I am going to put in the data that B and C are strangers. For B, I am going to put the data A and C are strangers. And for C, I am going to put the data that A and B are strangers. With me so far? Okay. Now the next piece of data is that Amuda, Dinesh, Funny are L's friends. So if E has friends, the friends which are given for E are A, D and F. So for E, A, D and F are the friends. So I am also going to reciprocate it. If E has A as a friend, then A has E as a friend. AD, so D and A, and EF, so F and E, sorry, E and D, so D and E and F, so F and E. So I am able to fulfill all these data as well. Now also, if A has only one friend and that is E, that means this data is pretty much set, and F also has only one friend and that is E. So this data is also pretty much set. Correct? Now the next clue, it says that Chandran and Gautam are friends. So if Chandran and Gautam are friends, then C and G are friends, which means G and C also have to be friends. And G has only one friend and that is established as C. So now the data for G is also complete. Right? So G and C are friends, so C and G are also friends. Now the next one says every friend of Amuda is an acquaintance of Bharatan and every acquaintance of Bharatan is a friend of Amuda. So every friend of Amuda, for Amuda the friend is E. So every friend of Amuda is an acquaintance of Bharatan, so that goes E. And Amuda has only one friend, that means Bharatan should only have one acquaintance. And every acquaintance of Amuda is a friend. So this table is also pretty much filled till here. And the next one, it says that every friend of Bharatan is an acquaintance of Amuda and every acquaintance of Amuda is a friend of Bharatan. Did we get the, so we currently don't know who are the friends of Bharatan. So now we cannot put who are the friends of who the other place. So got the table till here. Okay. Now starts the really interesting portion. What can we do further in this particular table now? Anyone? What further data can I fill in this table? Take A and B. Okay. So let's take A and B. So between A and B, now what can be done? What are the things left? My data which is left is D, F and G. For both A and B, my data left is D, F, and G. How do I fulfill this? In AE acquaintance, I can write B. How do I write that? Because B has E as an acquaintance, so E will have B as an acquaintance, correct? Right? Because I have to reciprocate. So if B has E as an acquaintance, then E has B as an acquaintance. What else can I do? Can I fulfill the table like this now? Is everything reciprocated? So A and E and A and B and A and C. So C and A. Similarly BE, so EB, BA, AB, BC, C and B, that is fulfilled. CG, GC, CA, AC, CB, BC is fulfilled. DE and ED is in place. EA, AE, EF, FE, EB, BE is in place. FE, EF is in place. GC, CG is in place. This data is in place. What else can I do? Think. A acquaintance and B friends are same number and same person. How? How do you get that? Given in the data, A's acquaintances and B's friends. Number 5. So A and B, every friend of Bharat is an acquaintance of Amuda, and every acquaintance of Amuda is a friend of Bharat. So how do I proceed with this? How do I proceed with this? If I combine both 4 and 5, if I combine the data of both 4 and 5, जो फ्रेंड है वो acquaintance है, जो acquaintance है वो friend है. So whoever is a friend here will be an acquaintance here. That means even this number is 1. Correct? That means this number has to be 4. Sorry, but I don't know who it is, so I can't circle it as of now. But I know that the number of strangers for B is also 4. Correct? Now, what do I put? How do I proceed from here? Any ideas? D, F, and G are left for A and B. That's correct. Out of which one of them is an acquaintance, two of them are strangers. For C, A, B, C. So for C, I have got D left, I have got F left, and I have got G left. In fact, G is done. So I have got D, F, and E left for C. For E, A, B. So C, D, E, C, E, and G are left to be fulfilled. Now G for sure is a stranger for whom? G is a stranger for A and B. What is the reason for that? If you get that G is a stranger for A and B, what is the reason for G being a stranger for E and B? Correct. G has only one friend, that is established. G has 3 acquaintances and G has 2 people as strangers. Now, G only has one friend, which is C. That is correct. What cannot be B? G cannot be a friend for B. Correct. So G has to be a stranger here. That means G also has to be a stranger here. Correct. Do you understand that? G's friend is C, C's friend is G, and G has only one friend. So G cannot be a friend to B. That means G also cannot be an acquaintance. So G goes into the stranger category. So now, if A and G are strangers, then G and A are strangers. And if A and B are B and G are strangers, then G and B are also strangers. So I also have got two strangers for G. Right? So now I know the friends and the strangers for G. That means all the others are acquaintances. That means D, E and F, all three are acquaintances for G. Got this part? D, E and F, all three are acquaintances for G. So now the reverse also has to be true. So if G and D are acquaintances, then D and G are acquaintances. G and E are acquaintances. E and G are acquaintances. And G and F are acquaintances. That means F and G are also acquaintances. So I've got more information in the table in. Are you able to handle till here? Okay. Now take a look at E. E may I have got ADF, I have got BG, right? That means G and F. So now what is left? For A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are established. That means the only thing left is C. E is also not there because E is self. So now this is also established. So A may I have got 3, 2 and 1. So E and C. That means C and E. You get this part? Correct? So now next, what more information can I fill in the table? I have established G here. G is gone. For C, I have also established E. So now D and F. Now using the same logic, if F is the friend for B, then B should be a friend for F, but F has only one friend E. So F also cannot be the friend. That means F has to be here, leaving D in this position. That means I've got 1, I've got all 4, I've got 1, I've got all 4. Got this part? So if A and F are strangers, F and A are strangers. If B and F are strangers, then F and B are strangers. Established it till here. Now think. What more can we fill in? Is it possible to fill in more information in this? Yes. If I take a look at F. Now, for C, D and F, I've got 2 and only one of them can be an acquaintance. Right? So can I take a leap of faith and say that F has reciprocation in D is left? Let's check the reciprocation in D. D and E, so E and D. D and G, so G and E. What reciprocation is left? What more can you fulfill here? A and B and D. Okay. Oh yes. So A and D are acquaintances. D and A are acquaintances. Sorry. A and D are acquaintances. D and A are acquaintances. B and D are friends. So D and B are friends. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2 are required here. That to complete 6. So against D, A, B, C, D, E and F. So that means this 2 is also confirmed, this 2 is also confirmed, and the remaining 2 C and F. So BC, that means DC, that means CD, and DF, that means F and D. And here we have got one, so only for C only one is left. So A, B, C, D, E, the only one left here is F. So here one confirmed, four confirmed, and CF, that means FC. So here one, here two, and here three. That means all of them are pretty much confirmed now. So now we have got the exact number of people for each and every one of them. And we also know how did D become B's friend. See, B had to be with D. Did you get this part? How B got D. So by reciprocal, if B and D are friends, then D and B also have to be friends. See, we were left with two options. Either I could have put D here or F here. But F had only one E. Right? So F could not be here because F has only one friend and that we established as E. So if F could not be the friend of B, D had to be the friend. And because we knew that the same person has to be the acquaintance of A and friend of D from the last two clues, this becomes confirmed as D. So then we are able to establish that. Got that portion? So I think once the table is complete, you will be able to crack the questions easily. Give it some time, sit with the table once more and try to fill in. But now did you understand how the data can be seen? So I'll quickly show you the questions and the answer key in case you just want to confirm. And then like this is the complete data that we should be getting. And the answers. So Gautam's acquaintances, this is pretty easy. Dinesh, Errol and Funny. Which pairs share the same type of relationship? Again from the table you will get the Bharat and Errol. So Bharat and Errol are acquaintances and Funny and Gautam are also acquaintances. Who's an acquaintance of Amuda? So for Amuda the acquaintance is D, Dinesh, first one. Who's the acquaintance of Chandran? That is F, Funny. How many friends does Errol have? So Errol has 3 friends, 2 acquaintances and 1 stranger. So answer is 3. And how many friends are either a friend or a friend of Errol? Now this is a bit of a tricky question. So Errol's friends are A, D and F. But friend of a friend. So A has only one friend so doesn't count. D has E and B as friends. E is already there. B, one extra friend counts. And F has E as a friend. So A, D and F ke alawa one extra friend. So total 4 friends are there. So did you get this set? Once you get a hang of it in about 6 or 7 minutes, once you create that table, then the questions are easy to solve. Right? Okay. Now the third one, very interesting set. Third, it takes time to solve it, but once you get how to do it, it's actually pretty interesting. So take a look at the third one, the mangoes, apple, banana, milk wala question. Give me a heads up when you are done or when you want me to show how to solve this question.